Good afternoon, everyone. You get a double dose of me this week. Today I'm here with LaShanda Gary. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hello, hello.
She just came off a powerhouse event. The room was so electrifying. It was so much smoke in the building. I had to bring the smoke over here, okay? Thank you so much for coming today to the Spear Podcast Studio, because you have so much to share.
Wow.
You have so much to share. I know you do.
I appreciate it. Smoke.
Yes, it was smoke in the building. It was filled. It was.
Amen.
So tell me about this event you just had 2 weeks ago.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Are you still
Yes, I am still
on a high?
Oh,
I know, right?
Process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I believe as leaders, or when you're a visionary, when you are what they call riding on a wave, you know, you have to really digress, take some time. And so for me, I'm still processing it because I think there's so many layers, but I thank God for it. We're fired up. I'm ready for what's next. And so that part of the leadership in me is like, okay, what's next? How do I dissect what's next? Yeah.
So that conference you had 2 weeks ago, Dream, Build, Succeed. No, sorry.
Yeah, success.
Dream, Build, Success Conference. It was a 2-day conference at the Hilton Post Oak. It was a Friday, Saturday event. It was your second time hosting this?
Yes. Well, this was my third year.
Oh, your third year hosting.
Third year. First year we won't count, so maybe because it was a failure. You know, I paid for 2 people, 27 came. You know, I say it's a failure.
You paid for how many people?
Well, actually, I paid for 2, and 27 showed up.
Okay.
First event. You know,
that wasn't a failure.
Crickets.
No, it wasn't a failure.
That was the seed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just, you know, the third year is amazing.
But see, you know, I say it's not a failure because you kept on doing it.
Hello.
It's a failure when you don't do as good as you wanted to and you don't do it anymore.
Come on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the fact that you persevered and you said, okay,
I was like,
whatever I did the first time, maybe I need to re-strategize, reanalyze.
That's what it was.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's just a learning curve.
And I call my failure
Teachable
as
moment.
falling forward.
Yes.
It was a falling forward moment. And I thought, okay, this is not what I prayed about. Let me go back to the blueprint, to the grounds, and reread this and rewrite the plan. Yeah.
So the first time it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to.
That's
right?
it. Yes, ma'am.
What made you say I'm going to do it again?
Well, you know, I just got to the point where I got tired of seeing people broke financially and spiritually. Period. And so I thought, you know what? There are people that love God in an unconventional way, unapologetic, just like, you know, me. When you create something and do something as a visionary, you find out that there are more people that are like you than are not. And so what I wanted to do is create an environment and culture where I can get entrepreneurs and faith-based believers bold in the room to get in the same space so we can be creative and, you know, just be unleashed. So that's why I wanted to create
You created that space. You created that space.
Thank you.
The vendors, I mean, everybody there was so aligned. The alignment was right. You know, from the vendors, from the people in the audience to the speakers. I mean, it was so well organized. It was an awesome event.
I appreciate that.
No, it really was.
You know, it takes a lot. You know, of course, just like you, it does. My team, myself, shout out to the dream team. But, you know, anytime you want to do something, you have to go through a process. And so really with getting those vendors in that room into that sacred space, that's what I call it, a sacred space. I'm a woman of faith, so I believe in prayer. And so for prayer and fasting and preparation period, I'm really looking at what can we do to shift people's lives. That was my goal.
Well, the shift was the theme.
Listen.
The shift was the theme. And so you talked about shift a lot that day. And shift is all in how you used to do things and how you're going to do it now.
Absolutely.
You know, well, they say insanity, thinking you're going to do the same thing and get new results.
That's
you know,
right.
You have to be willing to shift and move in a new direction.
Yeah. You know, and so when we think about the shift, when we look at the word shift, I want to break that word down. It's a slight adjustment. There are some people that only need one adjustment. You only need to be turned a couple different in areas. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your faith. Maybe it's the way you do business. Maybe it's the way you interact with corporate America. So when you think about that word shift, it's only a slight adjustment. Sometimes people, entrepreneurs, we get the big head and we want to look at the whole book, right? But sometimes you have to not look at chapters. You don't even need to look at sentences. You need to adjust certain words. And that's when you can go ahead and run freely when it comes to building out your platform, your business, really making sure your vision looks like what you prayed about.
So the small changes.
That's it.
The small changes.
Adjust.
Yes. But I think it's hard for entrepreneurs and visionaries because we always see the big picture, and to streamline it to go from the book to the chapter to the paragraph to the sentence to the word.
Yes, ma'am.
That's really breaking it down to the basics. And when you are an entrepreneur, I'm like myself and a visionary, it's hard because I'm always thinking about the grand scheme of things.
Yes, ma'am.
But what you just said made so much sense. It's just the small things. The small things do make a huge impact.
And I'll tell you, prime example is when you look at a sentence, sometimes we want the sentence to be so complicated. My prayer was simple for this conference. Lord, do it again. I didn't have to add anything, no big Hebrew and Greek words. I just said, Lord, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that sentence, you think about the comma after the Lord, because I identify who am I talking to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about the period. That's all I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Something simple. Sometimes as visionaries, it's not the big picture. It's the period and the comma.
Period and a comma.
Yes, ma'am.
Period and comma. So what is coming up next for you?
Absolutely.
You just released your book at the conference.
Yes.
So it's tour time.
Absolutely. My new book is I Decree, and it is 31 prayers and declarations to get personal and professional development. So there are a lot of people, they don't know how to really propel when it comes to prayer. They don't know how to propel when it comes to your lifestyle. How do you, can I be just transparent?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. There are people that I know that I'm connected to, family members that we've been praying for years, right? But it wasn't until I understand what the word decree means that we were able to unlock that part so they can live with freedom. So whether it's maybe you have hit a glass ceiling in your business and there's certain language that you need your entire team to learn. Mm-hmm. Right? Culture is big now. We hear culture, right? So how do we use that when it comes to our faith? So if I can show you how to build yourself up from the inside out with your words, then you will eat the rest of your life, period.
So what does I decree mean?
Absolutely. A decree is it's in the Old Testament, in the Word of God, and when God raised up a king or queen and he allowed them to declare, and establish, that's an apostolic call. That's an order. It's the divine mandate from heaven. So a decree is a mandate from God's breath to you, to the earth, manifested. So when you decree, you're simply saying that I establish, I command, I reiterate what God is already saying, right? So for an example, if I wanted to be healed, maybe I'm dealing with an illness. It could be mentally or it could be physically. I would say, I decree that I am whole, I am healthy, and I'm very wealthy. That's something that you'll read in the book as well. Yeah.
So it's power in the tongue.
Listen.
Power, life, and death in the tongue.
And your words have no sense of humor. They just do what you tell them to do.
I had a teacher who used to always say, your words are your world.
You better say that.
Your words are your world. So if you use your words like this is how your world will be. If you use your words like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, but it goes back. It's so faith-based. It's power, life, and death in the tongue.
Absolutely.
How you speak it. Even when you are broken, but to speak healing.
That's right.
And believe in healing. To speak it and believe it.
That's it.
And that's probably why some people's prayers aren't propelling.
That's it.
Because sometimes we pray these prayers and we talk this talk, but we really, really don't believe it.
Yeah.
We really don't believe it.
And I tell people all the time, take the mask off. Right? At the end of the day, for some women, we take the mask off. We take, we really just get unleashed and really just be transparent with where you are. Right? So if you say, hey, LaShanda, I'm in a season of my life where I can't find Mr. Right. Right? You keep finding Mr. Wrong. Mm-hmm. Okay? Well, maybe Mr. Right needs to, you don't need him in this season. Maybe you got to deal with the wrong stuff in you. So it's really taking a look at yourself and pulling the mask off and getting to the deep parts of you.
Mm-hmm. It's bigger than Mr. Right.
Listen.
It's bigger than Mr. Right.
Hello.
So the next thing I want to know is, how did you even get this point? Because I noticed get to this level where you want to encourage, inspire other people. Because I heard in your conference how you said when you were broken and trying to put things together, how did you go from that to this?
Absolutely. You know what? I gave myself permission. I stopped looking for validation through man, through people. So what happened is I tell people all the time, I woke up and I realized who I was. Being laid off, I was laid off for corporate America, 6 years, perfect attendance, never missed one day of work. I walked in on March 2nd. thinking this is my dream job, and actually was laid off. Me and 3,000 people lost our jobs. And so in that broken season and going from 6 figures to broke, really saying, okay, there has to be more. In that moment, I thought this will be the last time I trust anybody to employ me. Really. And that is being courageous. Mm-hmm. Because, going from 6 figures to losing cars to, really personally feeling like I was not being successful. Right. But starting something that, it took one word from God and a $200 laptop to start my first company. And really getting in that place and saying, you know what, I'm not going to, become what I've had to deal with. Right. Because some of us, we're thrown into entrepreneurship because we don't have a choice. Right. I had a backup plan. So I had my other business. Right. So I'm starting my business. I got a new job after 30 days, of just crying. And saying, okay, what else can I do? So that's how I really got into entrepreneurship. One opportunity from one entrepreneur in Houston, Texas, allowed me to speak on a public platform.
That's how it all began.
That's it. The launching pad.
The launching pad.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you started speaking.
Absolutely.
You went back to work. And then you branched out to your tax business?
That's
tax
it.
Service?
Yeah. So I have a tax company, background in finance. And so started. First client came in and within 30 days was able to bounce back from $42 walking to work to 6 figures. So when you have the right resource and information for people, they will come. I always have this thing, if you build it, they will come. Right. So for those entrepreneurs and your listeners and those viewing that are saying, hey, I have this idea, I want to encourage you and let you know that if you build it, they will come. You only need an idea and the right mentor to make it manifest, really. And so really launching from that and starting my first company, it was just history from there. Yes, ma'am.
So your new company, even though you did a conference, it's ongoing year round.
That's
where you're building leaders,
absolutely,
changing people's financial strategy, financial game.
Yes.
So what does that look like? How would somebody seek you if they wanted to get a consultation?
Absolutely.
Or become one of your clients? How does that work?
So there's 5 things that I deal with. Okay, so I'm not the speaker for all people. I'm not the mentor for all. I'm very clear about who I work with and who I do not. I think it's important, and those that are in leadership roles know that as well. I focus on marketing. My background is $13 to $17 million in marketing and strategy when it comes to building out platforms. There are a lot of businesses that you will never know that my signature brand is behind them launching, whether it's in media, things like that, but women in business as well. So if you're someone that is looking for that type of mentorship and education. Now, when you say a mentor, I'm very clear that I'm going to give you wise counsel and wisdom. Now, if you want a coach, I can be your coach, but I'm not the funnest coach, right? Because I came up in entrepreneurship where it wasn't that easy, right? So I don't play. But if you're saying, hey, LaShanda, you can go to LaShandaGary.com. If you want to grow your finances, when it comes to strategy, I can teach you how to take $100 and multiply it. The Lord is His hand is on my life to do that. And it came when I was broken. I believe that there are some things that you learn and some things that God mandates you to do, like He puts it in your vein. And that's one of them. And so I learned to stop apologizing for that. And when it comes to faith, I am a faith woman. So if you're saying I need to build my faith, I need to identify my purpose, I want to find my destiny, then I'm your girl. I got your back when it comes to that. I will, now I'll work with you. Sometimes if I got to drag you, we'll drag you across the finish line, but you will get there because I'm a midwife when it comes to purpose. Yes, ma'am.
Midwife when it comes to purpose.
Absolutely.
Go in depth on that.
Yeah,
And the reason why I say go in depth on that, because I love when people say midwife. And you think about it, midwife is a big deal to me. Let me tell you why. Just say the average person, we'll throw out a number, may have 2 to 3 children, right? But you can be a midwife 40 or 50 or 100 times over. That's a gift that you can use over and over and over again. Absolutely. It's power in being a midwife. Birthing somebody else's baby, birthing somebody else's dream, and watching it manifest and become reality, and loving on their dream and loving on their reality like they're your niece or your nephew.
Come on.
It's power in being a midwife.
Yes.
It is.
Well, I'll tell you what. I became a midwife with my faith. You know, I was youth pastor for 8 years. So early on, and I didn't have children. Me and my husband didn't have children, but we were thrust into that. God raised us up in that, and so I have tons of sons and daughters that are out there. They're lawyers and, financial advisors and everything now. But with that, I learned that sometimes people need nurturing. Right. So as a midwife, when it comes to you saying, hey, this is what I'm holding, what's precious to you. When you think about somebody's child, their purpose, their destiny, that's precious. And so for me as a midwife, I know that I'm held accountable for what I do and don't do. Right. So if you say I have a dream, if I can show you how to cultivate your dream, nurture your dream, birth your dream, and then propel your dream, I believe that a true midwife can teach others how to be midwives as well. When they have that grace. And it's a grace. My name, LaShanda, when you look up my name, it means God's gracious. So when you think about being a midwife and being gracious, it is something that I believe was a Jeremiah 29:11 in my life. In the Word of God, in the Bible, it is something that I was predestined to do. Right. So, for an example, I have some of my mentees. They are on international speaking tours right now. They're hosting their own conferences that are sold out. They are radio show hosts, things like that. And those were ideas when they came, and that we were able to propel and accelerate within 1 year.
Accelerate.
Hello.
Speed. Speed.
Quick. Flash.
No delay.
That's it.
No procrastinate.
No, ma'am.
No later on.
That's it.
Right now. Execute.
Execute. Let's make it happen. I always tell them, hey, if one person shuts the door in your face, go back and buy the building. Why are you worried about one door when you have the authority to buy the building?
The authority.
Hello, somebody.
I think a lot of times we play it small. We play it small. We think we can't handle that. We can't do that. And there's so much opportunity out here.
Hello.
Why play so small? Like you said, why are you worried about the door when you can't get the whole building?
That's it. And, I think for me,
but again, that's mindset. Shifting the way you think, but go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you too, when I got that really big, and I really captured that concept when when I first became a speaker, and I thought, okay, I'm going to speak not just behind the pulpit on Sundays, but I really want to do this because of the grace to do this really on a larger scale. And I remember when it was time to come to the Houston, shout out to the Houston, it was kind of like, okay, nobody knows who I am. There was one woman of God, shout out to Dr. Kimberly Ellison in Dallas-Fort Worth. She allowed me to come and speak on her platform in Dallas-Fort Worth. And that was the launching pad. So she was my midwife. So that was, my minute of opportunity. So I tell people when someone does give you that opportunity to go and speak on that level or to interact with them, make sure you bring 100%. Show up, right? So when you show up, allow God to show out.
You mentioned her at your conference, and you guys are forever connected because of that.
Absolutely.
Like, would you ever forget the person who brought you to the party?
Never.
No. You would never forget the person that brought you to the party. Well, you shouldn't forget that person, And it's amazing how she gave you the opportunity, and now every time you get an opportunity to celebrate her and acknowledge her, you utilize your platform that way.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times, when we become successful, when we make it, we forget about that journey. We're kind of like where we are right now. Like, it's okay to remember what you've been through. It's okay to remember who helped you. And it's okay to say, you know what? I may be the stuff right now, but I needed some encouragement. I needed some help. I needed somebody to put me on 10 years ago.
That's good.
So it's good to say that because everybody didn't wake up like this.
Please.
It's a process. It's a true process. It's a journey. And I always tell people it's better when you have people to bring you along.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think too, I'm big in tribes, right? I love a tribe.
Me too.
When you think about a community or a tribe to help you, if I eat, we all eat, right? If you're up there, I'm going to root for you. And I'm really big about, hey, celebrate people, because you don't know what it took to get them there. Right. And then I wrote an article the other day, and I was just sharing that, you will be happy to see where God has taken me because you don't know the process it took to get me to this point, right? And how many no's and how many, issues and things I had to really deal with. And, sometimes I think people see the pretty profile pictures. They see the cover of the book. They see the platform. They see the sold out event. But then when you think about like like I'm from the, don't remember, you can remember the girl that was walking to work with the education and broke, right? And I just don't ever want to really, I want to remain humble. That's my prayer. God, keep me, remain humble. Now, I don't want to go back. Let's be very clear.
Right.
But I'm grateful, even for, coming up in a small town. I'm a small town country girl. Shout out to Allerton, Texas. Yeah. If y'all watching, make sure you share this, right? Invite somebody to listen.
It's funny when you say looking back over your life and your accomplishments, right? Do sometimes you shock yourself?
Absolutely. And I have to ask God, allow me to be okay with this. And I remember my pastor, he was telling me that God was going to do something. I would be in rooms that I didn't qualify for, and I didn't get it at the time. But I understand, and allowing just God to allow me to be okay with it. Right. And because, whether I'm talking to, I have clients that are millionaires, multi-millionaires, and going into a conference room with them, I acknowledge that I deserve to be in that space. Right. And so getting to that, it is shocking sometimes. When you see yourself in magazines or, bestseller lists, you're like,
me?
Nobody but God could do this. Because, look, I know it had to be God's hand. And that's real.
What keeps you this energy? What keeps you inspired? What keeps you going from day to day? Like, because I know, let's go here first.
Amen.
When you tap out, because you tap out, we all tap out.
Hello.
That's a human thing. Even though you're always on 10 when I see you, you always have this good energy, great smile. But when you tap out, what refreshes you? What recharges you? What revitalizes you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm a woman of faith. And so I learned earlier in ministry what my key indicators are of how to keep my faith gracious at all times. Because when I'm not on, God is always on. Right. And so in the word of God, it talks about having a word in season and out of season. So when it comes to my faith, I stand on that alone. And then I believe in getting my proper rest. So what do you mean? Before my conference, I always take a sabbatical. A sabbatical is time out where I zero out from everybody. I don't talk to people. I don't have unnecessary conversations. I don't dialogue on the phone. I'm not taking clients. It's just me and God. So I can make sure that I am full so I can push out what I need to push out, because there's people depending. Some people come to my events, come to my mentoring classes, and they're on lifelines, right? They're life support. And it's the one word that's going to get them to birth. So I don't take that lightly. Then number 2, right afterwards, I take time off to digress. I think sometimes people hang from the chandeliers, but they forget that you can hang on the chandeliers, but if you hang too long, you're going to get burnt. Right. So I really do that. And I believe in what's called eye candy. So what keeps you thriving? Okay, so for me, I'm a person, I like to read. I love quotes. I love the color pink. There's certain things that keep me popping. And so I keep that in my environment and in my sacred space. And it works.
So during the sabbatical before your event, how long is the duration? A week, 2 weeks?
Well, whatever God tells me. This last time was 30 days. And so I make sure I'm very clear with my tribe and everyone that's in my circle. And they know, unless Jesus tell you something, please don't write
Figure
down.
It out.
Hello.
Yeah,
That's
it happen.
Make it happen. And I thank God for just, my team is so amazing. They're dope, They understand the call that I have. And so they get it. And then they're consecrating also. Like, they're prayed up, right? So we can make sure that the people of God can go into Canaan. Yes, ma'am. So they get it. My husband, he is so amazing. He allows me and really pushes me, not even allow, he really understands the grace to do this. And he wants it to manifest. He sees the vision, right? And our purpose speaks when we don't have to talk, right? So he understands that part of who I am.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal, because sometimes you're this visionary, you're building this brand, you're building this empire, and because when you and your mate got together, it was a totally different financial setting, totally different circumstances. He may have been okay with that, and then when you start growing and sowing and reaching new heights, everybody doesn't grow at the same pace.
Amen.
So that's a big deal. That's a blessing.
Amen.
Because right now, some people are struggling with this newfound success because the mate ain't on board with them.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? And I can encourage those listeners and viewers to tell you one thing that I learned as a woman of wisdom is to make sure that, see, the thing about my Mr. Gary, my husband, is he saw me in my brokenness, right? He saw me when I was depressed and didn't love myself. So he would never violate that principle in my life. He sees me as a kingdom woman, and he respects the God in me. And I believe that it's so important that you marry for purpose, right? And you really understand and you pray. I'm not going to beat him up with the Bible or anything like that, right? But he sees the God in me, and he respects the God in me, and he knows he's not my God. He can't save me at the end of the day. Right. And I believe that he has enough fear for God to allow God to be released and unleashed in our family. And so we both can be blessed at the end of the day.
That's powerful.
Amen.
That's powerful. Because trust me, that takes some time.
Yes.
You know, that ain't for everybody.
Well, and can I tell you how I was able to get that to manifest? Because our testimony is ridiculous. We eloped. I mean, we would have to do another show for that.
Well, give us a little brief.
Yeah. We actually, me and my husband, I was about 10% saved. I met him in the club, and we got married within less than 6 months.
Really?
Yes. Facts. Check the facts. We met on May 2nd. We got married in December 24th. So with that, coming in, both being about 10% saved, and really having what's called a Damascus experience, where God really took us from, murdering our own purpose, right? Like I was killing my own purpose. I was going nowhere, and really got tired. And said, okay, God, if you're real, I want you to be the God in my life. And really, God, literally, I allow him to fire myself, to fire us. And coming in, getting into ministry, I went on a fast. And I said, God, I know I have this grace, but I want you to show my husband who I am and show me who he really is. And we were able to come all over. And I mean, even when he wasn't going to church, I washed his clothes. This is serving. Right. This is going to help some people, because there's some bold, fearless women out there that's saying, hey, how do I get this off of me? Every Sunday I would still cook. I didn't go home and talk about what was going on in church. Like, our home was our home. I did make sure his clothes was, but then all of a sudden he started saying, wow, she's changing. She's happy. She's not fussing. She's not doing this. And he was like, well, I want to go see what's going on. Hello, somebody. And so then all of a sudden, the Lord just really arrested him. And it's been history since.
So it wasn't like you went home saying you should have came to church.
The pastor said, no, I didn't. Unless he asked me, I didn't talk about it.
You let your actions speak for your transformation.
I let the excellence in me arise.
Well, thank you so much, LaShanda, for coming.
Yes.
Please check her out on Instagram.
Yes, at LaShanda Gary.
Yes, and Dream Build Success. Check both those pages out. A lot of great inspiration. A lot of great quotes. You said you love quotes. Right. I do a lot of reposts of her. I'm always reposting her quotes. Powerful stuff. And I'm telling you, so prophetic, but not only that, so profound. It's like she wakes up, she say, you know what? We're going to be rich today. And you know what I mean? And I believe it and I receive it. Like, we are going to conquer the weak. These are the things that you say on your page. So, yeah, she's definitely a positive person to follow. Again, I'm Nikita Ross, LaShanda Gary, two fearless females. We'll see you next week. Bye.